This course is about the science of nutrition and exercise that can lead to changes in body composition. That's the key. This is science. And it's my aim to provide you with the tools to make the decisions that you want to make when you want to make them to produce lasting results, not necessarily fast results. Maybe you just never think about body composition because your weight has been stable for years. And you've just never considered what adding a little bit of muscle or losing a little bit of fat may do to make you feel different and perform better in your daily life. I will provide you with all of the information you would ever want and more so that you can make big or small changes when you're ready to achieve more and live life fit. And I'll share all of this excellent information with the scientific research to back up all of the concepts that I will tell you about. In my field of nutrient metabolism, exercise physiology, body composition, and performance, also known as performance nutrition, we study how energy is derived from foods and how this energy fuels exercise and human movement. You see, our energy comes from breaking down the food we eat, and we'll talk about that. We also need to talk about dietary supplements and when it's appropriate to incorporate them into your nutrition plan. And once we understand energy intake from foods and drinks, that is, how they are metabolized and used for energy, then we'll talk about energy expenditure, or the energy you use to keep alive and allow you to move and exercise. In the course, we'll study all types of exercise and how intensity and duration influence your body fat and muscle mass. We'll talk about what the caloric cost of exercise really is and what types of exercises are best to burn fat or gain muscle. We'll also look at hormones and how they influence your hunger, exercise, health, and body composition. All of these topics align to let us understand how to change body composition if you choose to, and how to best apply all of the information that we learn from the science of performance nutrition. You know, one interesting thing about exercise and nutrition is that a lot of people believe they are experts on these topics, even if they have little to no formal education or experience. And a quick comparison to other jobs makes this almost funny. Let's say that you're cooking a meal for your family one night. Something distracts you and the dish catches on fire. Luckily, you react quickly and put the fire out. So, are you now a trained firefighter? Of course not. But in the fitness and nutrition fields, I often find that if someone reads a book or watches an infomercial, all of a sudden they feel like an expert. This is taken advantage of way too often. And what's left is an overload of misinformation, half-truths, and lots of myths. We'll discuss these myths in many of the lectures. Recently, a new client of mine told me that he had great nutrition and exercised daily, but that he couldn't lose any weight and he had no energy. After months and months of trying all the popular diets, he'd had zero success. In fact, despite his perfect efforts, he'd actually gained weight over the past year. And what's worse, after a recent checkup, he was told by his doctor that he needed to be placed on blood pressure medication. Unfortunately, this is an extremely common scenario in health, nutrition, and fitness. But how is it even possible to have great nutrition and consistent physical activity patterns and not change weight? Well, for an overweight person, it would be unlikely. But maybe you feel the same way as my client did. No matter what you do, nothing seems to work. By now, we know that nutrition and fitness are two keys to living well. And whether we're talking about lowering your risk for disease, keeping your brain fit, changing your body composition, or just feeling your best, eating well and exercising have to be included. But do you find yourself wondering what nutrition and exercise advice you should listen to? I mean, you've seen the diet and exercise section at the bookstore that's stocked with thousands of guides and self-help DVDs. Every magazine on the rack has a headline offering you weight loss advice. And you've probably noticed advertisements on TV, and they're trying to sell you a new device, pill, or potion to help you lose fat. You're probably asking, why are there so many choices? Do any of them work? Well, now imagine that you could easily sift through the mountains of media headlines and infomercials to find the real solution to your weight loss goals. Well, that's my goal for this course. We'll sift through all of the science and bring clear messages about how to change your body composition and what you can really expect. At a corporate seminar I gave recently, a woman stood up and said, "I heard that our metabolism slows as we age. So does it really matter what we do if we're all destined to gain fat and lose muscle?" She believed that her weight gain over the past 15 years was unstoppable, simply due to the consequences of aging. But is it really inevitable? Well, the short answer is no. And in this course, you'll learn why and what you can do about it. The focus of my research over the past 14 years has been to study how nutrition, supplementation, and exercise influence optimal body composition, performance, and health. We'll talk about the evidence for what works and what doesn't from my research and from research that has been published in this field. I need to say here that many of the research studies that we'll discuss have been completed using male subjects. This happens often because the female menstrual cycle induces hormone changes that researchers must control for. So by default, men are typically used as subjects in studies. This is changing though, and when it's possible, I'll discuss sex-specific differences that occur with nutrition and exercise training. But sometimes we just have to use the information we get from men or from women to make the best lifestyle choices we can for ourselves. Many times, data from animals like mice or rats is used initially to later set up human research trials. Animal research has a critical role in the development of the science. But you'll also learn that animals and humans don't always respond identically. The absolute generalizability of some data can only be to a very specific group of people or animals. But again, we have to use the information provided in an attempt to make the most optimal choices we can to provide performance benefits for health and body composition. Luckily, in this field, many common threads have emerged, and I'm going to share those with you throughout the course. I'll cover evidence-based steps to help you increase your metabolism, improve your health, and create the best possible conditions for achieving your optimal body composition. I'll go into detail about ways to change your body fat and muscle mass to meet the goals that you have. It's important for me to say again that this is a no gimmicks type of course. What you'll get are just the facts based on cutting-edge research from my lab and from many other colleagues around the globe. Let's begin by going into what body composition is and why it should be used as your indicator of health instead of body weight. We all get crazy about body weight when the thing we should be talking about is how much muscle and how much fat we have instead. Even on popular weight loss shows, what you don't learn is how much fat versus how much muscle was lost in the process. Any day of the week, I'd take a 2-pound fat loss and a 2-pound gain in muscle. This would improve my body composition, health, and functionality. But it wouldn't change my body weight. We'll also talk about BMI, or body mass index, which is simply your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared, and how it is useful for some situations, but not others. For example, if you are 5'2" and weigh 180 pounds, you're classified as obese according to the body mass index. But this identical BMI can also describe a professional athlete who's 6'2" and 255 pounds. See, the way you hold your weight, that means how much fat and how much muscle you have, contributes a lot to how you look, how you feel, and how you perform. And by perform, I mean this in the context of the real world, not simply performance on an athletic field. To me, improving your performance can happen in your job, with your family, or with the general energy and enthusiasm for life that is true to performance. The nutrition that feeds your body and fuels the physical activity that can change your body composition is also a major component of the science of body composition. We'll discuss everything from how your food is digested, to where it goes in your body, to your cellular function. Because, believe it or not, this matters in a big way. It is directly linked to your health and well-being. It influences your body composition and your energy levels for work, play, and exercise. If you've ever thought about cutting out fat or carbohydrates from your diet, we'll go into that too. I'll detail what carbohydrates, fats, and proteins are and why you should care about them. We'll even cover when a low-carb diet might be best for you and when a high-carb diet might be better. And answer questions like, should I eat fat or not? And is gluten-free the healthiest choice for me? What about calories? Do they matter? You may know a lot about the controversy that surrounds the topic of energy balance. Energy balance is quite simple, really. It's the balance of the calories you take in from foods and beverages, or energy intake, with the calories that you expend, or energy output, for all of your biological processes necessary to live. Things like breathing and thinking, plus those calories you expend from walking around and from exercise. For the most part, we understand that in order to alter body composition, to lose fat, for example, you would want an energy deficit. Just burn more than you take in. But if it were that easy, maybe we wouldn't have the obesity epidemic that we do today. The question becomes, are all calories created equal? For example, if you drink 800 calories from soft drinks, does this do the same thing to your metabolism and body composition as eating 800 calories from broccoli? Well, that's a topic for a bit later when we go into more detail. But we need to understand that the quality of our calories will have as much of an impact on our body composition and overall health as the total number of calories that we eat daily. Other important topics in this field include the best foods to eat before a workout or to recover after a workout, what to do at night before bed, and whether you should eat breakfast or skip it. I'll also talk about some major hormones that influence how we look and feel. I'll also break a few myths along the way. I'll talk about your needs for certain foods and specifically why you probably should eat more protein in your diet. Your body works hard to digest and absorb protein than it does carbohydrates or fats. This is probably why eating protein gives you the largest increase in metabolism when you eat it. A number of research studies have been designed to specifically measure metabolism after a meal containing protein versus fat versus carbohydrate. And the majority of these indicate that the greatest impact on increasing metabolism comes after eating protein. So some foods come with a little bit of a metabolic advantage. And this can have an impact on the goals you're setting for changing body composition. Many of the questions I get are about nutrition and supplements. So we'll talk about which ones might work for your goals and which ones you should just leave on the shelf. For example, did you know that creatine, a popular sports performance supplement, is now being used for neurological disorders, brain protection as we age, improving muscle mass, hydration, and sports performance? Well, it is, and the effectiveness, or not, of some other supplements I discuss may surprise you. We'll discuss food portion sizes too, and some simple ways to manage how much you eat. Did you know that 20 years ago, we were served smaller portion sizes? It's true. The National Institutes of Health tells us that a bagel 20 years ago was typically about 3 inches in diameter and 140 calories. Now compare that to today. A bagel is typically 6 inches in diameter and now contains nearly 350 calories, more than twice as many calories than just 20 years ago. Or what about a fast food cheeseburger? 20 years ago, it had about 330 calories, nearly half when compared to the almost 600 calories today. And sometimes more than 600 calories in a cheeseburger. And French fries 20 years ago were typically a 2.4 ounce serving containing 210 calories. But today, your standard serving of fries weighs in at 6.9 ounces and will set you back around 610 calories. Now, you don't have to begin counting calories because that takes a lot of time and let's face it, it's no fun. Getting bogged down with the numbers complicates it all and can get you fixated on the wrong sorts of details. So, what's the solution? Try using your hands as a way to gauge how much you should eat. For example, most women can go with 1 palm-sized portion of lean protein to meet their needs at a particular meal. Men typically have bigger and thicker hands, and they can go with 2 palm-sized portions of lean protein. You simply adjust this based on your goals and the food you're eating. Carbohydrates, for example, could be a fist-sized portion of vegetables or rice. Much easier, isn't it? I'll go over all of the recommendations for these major nutrients and micronutrients too. Things like vitamins and minerals that you should pay attention to. It is important to be aware of the fact that food is big business. So there are all sorts of economic pressures involved with labeling and marketing. For example, you should remember that the most common recommendations we have for food to eat and how much to eat are influenced by companies that have a big stake in selling food products. So it is important to have the most education you can about the science behind what foods you choose to eat. Here's a secret. Learning to pay attention to what you eat and how you feel will help you to achieve your optimal body composition and lead to improved health and performance. When you eat, just eat. If you're distracted while you eat, rushed or stressed, or not paying attention, you are more likely to eat more than your body really wants or needs. Most times, it is the simple practice of just getting enough becomes overcomplicated by massive amounts of media propaganda, misinformation, or family habits. Over and over, I'll discuss how exercise fits into the equation too. How much do you need to do, and how often do you need to do it? We'll talk about questions like what exercise or activities work best if you want to gain muscle, or what works best if you want to lose fat. We'll talk about lifting weights, implementing high-intensity interval training, and finding activities that you love to do. Remember the woman I mentioned who was asking whether metabolism tends to slow as we age? With data that shows that we lose about 5% of our muscle mass per decade, it's a bit sad. And over the span of 50 years, you could lose as much as 25% of your muscle mass. And that's not something we want. It can make you weak and frail and lower your metabolism a lot too. But the fact is, the overall decrease in your metabolism is only about 1 to 3% during the aging process, which really doesn't amount to much. And you can easily offset this with nutrition and exercise strategies that we'll discuss throughout the course. Now, I know that many people think that being sedentary is easier than being active. Consider this. Screen time, or the time that people watch TV, use the internet, play video games, or look at their phones, is increasing every year. This is likely a big problem because during these activities, we're usually not moving. In a national sample of girls and boys, it was found that those who watched less than 2 hours of TV per day had about a 10% chance of becoming obese. But those who watched more than 5 hours per day had close to a 30% chance of becoming obese. For adults, this is also an issue, typically from too much sitting time and sedentary time during the day. In fact, a number of research studies link daily sitting time to a number of health concerns, including obesity, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. Sitting all day sometimes is called the sitting disease. So the obvious answer is to exercise. Unfortunately, planned exercise and unplanned activity typically slow down as we age and make it likely for us to gain weight and fat. You need to make a real effort to stop this reduction in metabolism and work for your optimal body composition. You see, it's often said, and for good reason, that we don't stop being active because we get old. We get old because we stop being active. I'll show you evidence for this too. I'll also ask you to do some thinking and really identify what your strong and weak points are in this transformation process. Are you great at exercising but lousy at making healthy meals? Do you eat veggies all day but have no idea if you're getting enough protein? Do you like to exercise but just don't know what to do? Here's a great starting point. Can you name one thing you could change today, the easiest possible thing you can think of, that would help you improve your body composition, health, and performance? Well, here are some suggestions. Could you take the stairs more often? That's a pretty easy change. Could you eat more fruit? That's really easy. What about working out a little more effectively? Sure, with some coaching. If you know what your easiest obstacle is to overcome, that is the perfect place to start. I'll work to have you understand not only how to identify your weak points, but to come up with a strategy for how to work with them. And not just temporarily, but to change for good. To truly implement a new strategy as part of your lifestyle. Having the body composition of your dreams is certainly a great goal. But keep in mind that just being active is extremely helpful for improving your health. The really good news is that following even the most basic of recommendations brings many benefits. In fact, just a 5 to 10% loss in total body weight will improve your blood pressure, cholesterol, and even your sugar levels. And even if you're still in the overweight or obese range, this modest weight loss can decrease your risk for chronic diseases related to obesity. A major point of information about body composition that most people don't know about is that if you're trying to lose weight, you should be lifting weights. I know this may go against what you've always been told, but no longer is long and slow aerobic exercise the recommended way to lose fat. Sure, it's part of the plan, but many other types of exercise are needed if you really want a fighting chance to lose fat and keep or add muscle. Particularly when trying to lose weight, it's important to lift weights so your muscle mass has the best chance of staying around and your metabolism stays as high as possible. I was part of a research team that looked at medical weight loss programs for massively obese individuals. Part of the study was to add weightlifting to one of the groups on a very low-calorie diet as directed by their physician. We compared the weightlifting group to another group that was also on a low-calorie diet but did not lift weights. And we found that the resistance exercise, that is weightlifting, was critical for helping to maintain their muscle mass while they were losing large amounts of weight. In fact, the group that did not lift weights lost far more muscle mass than the group that did. It's been estimated that energy expenditure required for about 2 pounds of muscle is 13 calories per day, but only 4.5 calories per day for fat tissue of the same weight. So a higher amount of muscle will help to keep you lean and fit. But keep in mind that only 13 calories per day is quite low, even when you multiply this by our total amount of muscle mass. So, quick changes in body composition should not be expected. Instead, look for changes to come over a period of time, after you've dialed in a nourishing eating plan based on quality foods and consistent and effective exercise strategies. Overall, the health benefits of exercise and eating right are clear. If a pill existed with even half of the same benefits, there's no doubt that it would be a bestseller. Even if you are overweight or obese, simply being physically active can ward off metabolic disease and keep you healthy. Health is not always about weight. Sure, they are related, but the key for your health is that you exercise and work on ways to improve how you eat. But simply exercising more and eating less is not the key for improving body composition. We've been preaching this for a long time, but it doesn't work all that well. The science of healthy body composition is not weight loss science. It's the science of a healthy balance of fat and muscle and how we can achieve that. Choosing both quality exercise and quality food is the way to make lasting improvements. And weight loss may be a consequence of changing eating and exercise habits, but it is not the goal. It is also important to keep in mind that things like your genetics, your environment, and even chemical pollutants are factors that contribute to you gaining fat. But even though our ability to alter a body composition depends on many things, the take-home message is that exercise and quality nutrition do a body good. In fact, exercise and nutrition must be combined for a healthy body composition. You can make it pretty far with one or the other, but healthy does not just mean not overweight. For example, I know many skinny but unhealthy people. I want you to have the science-based knowledge so that you can make informed decisions about your health and body composition, whatever your age, sex, or physical condition. Sometimes the hardest part is not in understanding, but in applying what you learn. With that said, it's been my experience that the hardest part about having a client or research participant begin a transformation is not in deciding to change, because let's face it, making the decision is the easy part. The trick comes in actually doing the work to change. Let's take a commonly used example from motivational speakers around the world. 3 frogs are sitting on the edge of a pond. 2 decide to jump in. How many frogs are now left on the side of the pond? Well, most people think the answer is 1. 1 frog left on the side of the pond. But the real answer is 3 frogs are left on the side. Why? Because deciding to do something doesn't mean that you actually do it. It only happens when you leap. But let's not leap blindly. Let's have a plan, because this journey is not about a quick fix. It's about a lifestyle change that works for you. It's not about how quickly you can lose weight or how small you can become. It's about how to become stronger and healthier while lowering your body fat and increasing your muscle mass. It's about changing your body composition through diet and exercise in a safe way that supports you holistically and helps you achieve more day to day. Try this. Write down the biggest hurdle you see as standing in the way of achieving your optimal body composition and health.